Hey guys, I'm here. We're about to check out New Rockstars' latest breakdown for Ahsoka Episode 3. Haven't seen my reaction to the episode, go check it out. I had a blast with it, man. I loved all the little nuggets that they kind of sprinkled in throughout here, especially about the Jedi training methods and actually some of the more formal elements of it that we haven't really tapped into too much, especially within the canon, at least to my knowledge. I love seeing the way that they kind of fleshed that out and just the conversation around the Force that they had on top of everything else that kind of transpired throughout the episode. I'm loving the show, man. I think that episode really exemplified what this show is going to be building up towards. With that said, let's go ahead and hop into the breakdown. If you're not subscribed to Rockstars, go ahead and check them out. I highly recommend them. Link to their channel is in the description of the video. It's to the original video, so from there, you can find all their stuff. They got some great merch, too. But with that all said, let's hop into Episode 3 breakdown. Here we go.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of Star Wars Ahsoka Episode 3, Time to Fly. Baylan Skoll saw a few Purgle in the clouds of Cetos in Episode 2. And
oh, I didn't even notice that.
To really apologize. We're sorry for taking your friend. Oh, please don't click away. No more whale speak in this video, I promise. Let's break down this episode scene by scene for all the Star Wars Easter eggs and details you missed. Okay, we see the same opening metallic faces and helmets as last week. Vader, 3PO, Clone Trooper helmet, HK Assassin Droid, the Inquisitor, Moroch, Huyang, Stormtrooper, Chopper, and Sabine's helmet. So quick note on Moroch before we begin. I did not address this before because I think it's a very silly theory, but no, I do not think Moroch is Ezra Bridger. Are you kidding me? Ezra would have had to come back from this other galaxy, and regardless of his dark side temptations, our man would never have broke bad and become a freaking Inquisitor. Come on, have we learned nothing from Rebels? By the way, if you haven't seen all of Rebels and don't have time to watch all those episodes, or you just want a refresher, we made an excellent 4-part Rebels recap series to catch you all up on all of the episodes, the characters, the Easter eggs, and the bits of lore that you need to know. Please watch those and share those with all the others out there who are like, I don't know how to get into this series. Now, when it comes to Moroch, we did see Sam Witwer's name in the additional voices of the credits of episodes 1 and 2, leading some to believe that Moroch could be Star Killer, but Moroch's performance has been done by stunt actor Paul Darnell. We also saw his name in the credits of episode 2, and Sam Witwer is just one of these regular Lucasfilm dudes who voices one-off characters like that Shore Trooper and Andor. He could have voiced any of those droids or helmeted figures. Like,
that's the thing.
Also appears besides names like Matthew Wood, the sound editor who has voiced General Grievous, and Bib Fortuna. So who knows? We may just get a number of voices that echo through the past.
I'm not going to get too attached to any idea.
Credited all the voice actors who helped out on the season, but in this episode, Moroch actually speaks. She's on the way. Nothing. Now, I gotta admit, the voice does sound a bit like Sam Witwer.
It does a little.
Sam is also just a very good voice actor whose voice is just kind of like the taste of chicken. Everything sounds like it. But the most important detail is that in the credits of this episode, the role of Moroch is fully credited to Paul Darnell.
That's what threw me off on it too.
From him just being credited for stunts last week.
Yeah.
Witwer's name does once again appear at the very end of the credits with the additional voices section, just as it has appeared in episode 1 and 2. So I just don't know if they would have credited Moroch entirely to Paul Darnell if Witwer had been voicing him. Like, they bumped up Darnell's credit in an episode in which the character speaks. It's a big deal.
They've also altered credits before to hide potential spoilers. So, if he's doing all the performance work aside from the voice, I don't know. Would they hide that and still keep Sam over there? Or do you think we'd see him bump up to voice up Moroch in a later episode once that's been revealed? I'm very curious about that, but I don't know. It may very well be just Paul Darnell, and I'm kind of leaning in that direction, but I'm open to all interpretations.
Episode credits are contractual.
Except for the Ezra one. That's the only one I don't think is anywhere close.
Say, well, there was that episode of Rebels, season 4, episode 11, where Dave Filoni credited the Lothwolf Doom to the Force. But folks, that was animation. In live action, episode credits are taken very seriously. So all of this is really to say, I don't know, we're 3 out of 8 episodes in, and I think Moroch is just gonna be Moroch. Okay, the episode opens with Ahsoka's T6 in hyperspace. When we saw hyperspace looking like this in The Mandalorian season 3, episode 1, Grogu saw a Purgle floating past them. And yes, this is a very big Purgle episode. Huyang trains with Sabine using a Bakken, which is a Japanese wooden sword used for training in Kinjutsu.
Well, it's
Huyang
Bo,
says,
but yes, I have a few.
These are form positions. They are numbered similar to the Mandoa numbers that the armorer shouted at Din Djarin while training him with a darksaber in the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 5. And of course, we are reminded of Sabine training with the darksaber with Ezra and Kanan in Rebels Season 3, Episode 15, Trials of the Darksaber.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
These were the basics originally taught to Sabine by Ezra in that episode, and Sabine made a bit of progress with the darksaber. It started to feel lighter in her hands, but she later handed it off to Bo-Katan at the beginning of Rebels Season 4. So other than that period and whatever Ahsoka taught her in the in-between years, Sabine is still very much a novice. Here, Huyang, the Jedi Order's architect droid and expert on lightsabers, uses these 4 hollow sabers, looking a bit like General Grievous, 4-dogging it like that, but these are to record the vector and the accuracy of Sabine's swings. Light yellow for more accurate, orange for off target and more askew angles. Ahsoka proposes,
how about Zatoichi?
This is a reference to Zatoichi, the blind swordsman, the recurring character in 25 Japanese samurai films from 1962 to 1973. George Lucas cited the Hidden Fortress and the Seven Samurai as inspirations for Star Wars. This technique involves Sabine wearing this blind mask,
okay, that's
cool. The Jedi Temple that we saw in Attack of the Clones, and the makeshift one that Obi-Wan had Luke wear on the Falcon in A New Hope, but this mask has an interesting symbol on it. Kind of reminds me of something that they might have had in the Jedi Temple training room that we saw in flashbacks in Rebels Season 2 Episode 18, Shroud of Darkness.
I don't recognize it.
Wore masks, but those had eye holes in it. A similar mask that Kanan Jarrus put on after he was blinded in the Season 2 finale of Rebels in that Malachor Sith Temple. Thrawn did keep one of these Jedi Temple masks on his desk in Season 3 and 4. This blindfold mask might also be based on the Kendo mask, which
it very much so looks like it.
But I just find it interesting that Ahsoka keeps this whole training set on her ship with lightsaber training instruments recovered or rebuilt with Huyang to keep this art form alive. Even if she's uninterested in the Jedi Order, like she may have rigged her table and seats to descend to the floor to give her more room for activities. Ahsoka tells Sabine,
I want you to see with more than just your eyes.
It's very similar to Baylan though too, because he says, we are no Jedi, but you see him still instilling the Jedi values, or at least the training methods, much like Ahsoka. They're very much kind of running parallel in a way, because they want to pass on their knowledge, but they don't want to pass on their dogma, is what it feels like. So that's because I think that's accentuated a little bit more, at least on the Ahsoka side, when she's like, I don't need her to be a Jedi. I need her to be herself. But she's given her the tools to wield a lightsaber and wield the Force because it would help her in the long run in all her endeavors. And we see some of that going on as well with Baylan, you know, instructing Shin in the Force, lightsaber combat, even so far as to being in more or less traditional robes and with the Padawan braid. It's really interesting to see how they are, you know, how they're trying to evolve what they were brought up in.
Yes, this is the kind of thing Kanan Jarrus had to learn after he was blinded by Maul at the end of Season 2 of Rebels, how to see with more than just your eyes. While Sabine is blindfolded, they do this awesome camera editing trick.
Do you know where I am?
Next to Huyang.
Are you sure?
God, I loved that.
Very funny.
I love it. We don't see Ahsoka walk to Sabine's right side, and the sound mix edits Rosario Dawson's voice to be closer and on the right side of the stereo mix at first, but then shifts to be on the left side of the stereo mix when she suddenly appears on the left side of frame. We experience the same subjective confusion that Sabine does. The camera stays on Sabine alone in frame for a few seconds, and then... Yes, since Sabine cannot see where Ahsoka is, neither can we. Sabine swings at more air than the lightsaber can, but there is one moment she makes progress.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, she actually did use a bit of the Force there to sense the Bakken behind her, but then she just gets too greedy with a kill lunge for getting her footing so Ahsoka can trip her. So it's not Sabine's lack of Force sensitivity, though she is definitely number to the Force than the Jedi are. It's really Sabine's impatience. Ahsoka says,
Anger and frustration are quick to give power, but they also unbalance you.
Yeah, Ahsoka means that literally and metaphorically, as fear is the path to the dark side, you know, leads to anger, hate, suffering, etc. But the Force is really the balance between them. Onto the New Republic fleet. We see 4 blue-painted A-Wings flying in formation past Home 1, that is Admiral Akbar's Mon Calamari flagship from Return of the Jedi. We see some CR-90 Corvettes, those are the ones with the 11 engines like the Tantive 4 had, and a Hammerhead Corvette. We saw these in Rogue One. The planet they orbit has a vast cityscape surface, could be Coruscant, But currently, the New Republic's
Could
capital
be
is
Hasnian.
Syndulla, that's Mon Mothma's
Oh.
home world. The capital
We're not
currently
there yet.
rotates among the core worlds. In the future, it's going to be Hasnian Prime. That's
Yeah.
the system that gets destroyed by Starkiller Base in The Force Awakens. Syndulla has more green land and oceans. It's not completely an urban cityscape, so I'm assuming it's either Coruscant or Hasnian Prime. Probably Coruscant.
Yeah.
Hera checks in with First Officer Vic Hawkins.
She's waiting. There are several senators with her. One of them is Ziono.
Not Ziono! Senator Hamato Ziono is
Aw, Ziono!
He's going to be pulled in live action from the Star Wars Resistance animated series. He's the father to Kazuda Ziono, pilot of the Resistance. They hail from Hasnian Prime, and Papa Ziono stubbornly refuses to accept Kazuda joining the Resistance, considering them extremists. Boo! Inside this room, which again seems to be the auditorium-style room that we saw Mon Mothma give everyone the briefing about the Bothans in Return of the Jedi, Hera greets Chancellor Mon Mothma, Genevieve O'Reilly, returning from Andor, now elected the first Chancellor after the fall of the Empire. With her is Senator Ziono, Senator Rodrigo, Senator Marwood, and a Senator of the Grand Race. Now, there was a Grand Senator named Ask-Ak, who was a Palpatine loyalist during the prequel era, but nah, I don't think he'd be in the New Republic government this high up, but who knows?
You never know.
Apparently, a
They-
loyalty oath with your fingers crossed behind your back is enough to get the top job with space Nazi destroyers unsupervised.
Yep.
Mothma asks,
Hera, you look well. How's young Jason?
Fine, Chancellor. In fact, he's on board. Somewhere.
Causing trouble with Chopper, no doubt.
yes, they're referring to Jason Syndulla, Hera's son with Kanan Jarrus, revealed in the final minutes of the Rebels finale episode. He's played in this episode by Evan Whitten. Dave Filoni has said that Jason's name, Jacen, is a tribute to the Legends character Jason Solo, the son of Han and Leia, who eventually becomes
Yeah.
the Sith Lord. Darth
Yeah.
Sidious.
Oh my
don't
God,
name your kid
yeah.
Jason. So, says the Imperial loyalists
Oh, that's
on
some
Corellia
crazy
are
stuff that
outliers
happens
since
there.
these imps had to take these oaths of loyalty, and it's kind of hard to see here if she's just naive or actively pro-Empire. But with Rodrigo and Ziono and that shifty-looking Grand Senator, like notice how he nods when Ziono shuts down Hera's task force request. That would be either 3-2 or 4-1
Yeah.
on any vote they had about this. Take it away, Kent.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Democracy simply doesn't work.
Hera alludes to Thrawn's allies working on a way to find him. In addition to Morgan Elsbeth, we know of the Shadow Council in The Mandalorian Season 3, including Captain Pelion, that was Thrawn's right-hand man in the Timothy Zahn novels and currently played by Xander Berkeley in live action. Saw him in The Mandalorian Chapter 23. Mothma remembers Thrawn for how effective he was against Hera's Phoenix Squadron over Lothal in the final season of Rebels, which led to Hera crashing an X-Wing on Lothal, getting captured, tortured, and Kanan's death while rescuing her. Hera calls out Ziono, though.
Were you ever in the war, Senator?
Yeah, dude.
No.
Just sat back and waited to see who came out on top?
Damn! So Hera currently represents the views of Senator Leia Organa, whom Claudia Gray's Bloodline novel explores during these years as a Republic leader ousted by New Republic political corruption and leaves to form the Resistance. Hera's defiance to Ziono here may later make Kazuda joining the Resistance feel personal. Hera warns,
Yeah.
Thrawn is not your typical Imperial officer. I know because I fought against him. He killed friends, people who were like family to me.
Now, it is worth noting that Thrawn doesn't really kill many major characters in Rebels. Like, Kanan died because Governor Price blasted the fuel depot, a decision that Thrawn actually hated because it slowed down the production of his TIE Defenders. But his decisions absolutely killed a lot of people. Many Phoenix Squadron pilots, Rebel fighters, innocent Lothal residents.
Yeah.
He shot Bendu. Just kidding, Bendu didn't die. He faded away laughing. So we are learning here how attached Hera was to all these victims. Jason asks,
Is it true?
She could also attribute that through the line of command. Like, I don't know that she knows. I don't remember, I don't remember if it came back up again, but she probably could, through extension, still blame Kanan's death on Thrawn because of the chain of command and all of that. She may have assumed or whatever. I don't know. But yes, the squadron for sure. Like, she's lost many people that she's at least been acquainted with to him specifically.
Sabine is gonna be a Jedi?
Now, where did you hear that?
Chopper told me.
I love Chopper's utterances, and I don't know if this was a growl or an awkward, but remember, Chopper was the one Ezra handed his lightsaber off to. He's the one who tossed Sabine that lightsaber in the Rebels finale episode. He wants this transition to happen. And also, Hera, Chopper's not the best babysitter. He's gonna teach Jason how to be a war criminal. Now, Jason, of course, then asks,
I want to be a Jedi.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, but if anybody looks at Jason the wrong way, Chopper will
You do, Jason.
Yeah, she is looking in his eyes and totally seeing Kane and Jarrus, and likely doesn't want Jason to follow down that path because, you know, it leads people to like hop on top of fuel cells and hold back flames to save the people that you love. But also, watch that Rebel Season 4 breakdown because there is some unresolved history with Caleb Doom when he was brought to Lothal. It looks like based off of those cave paintings by Yoda, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and Mace Windu. And Jason is totally inheriting that. What? Okay, so back on the T6, Sabine says,
I was hoping that the urgency of our situation could expedite my training a bit.
Jedi like Anakin and Ahsoka were in a hurry to get better with the Force during the Clone Wars and for Anakin to go back and save his mom, which really is the worst time to hone this kind of training because you take it harder when you don't pick it up fast enough. You're worried that every failure and setback is causing pain and hurt somewhere around the galaxy. Peacetime is the best time to become a good Jedi. Sabine says that she can't use the Force, and Ahsoka counters,
The Force resides in all living things.
I don't know. Aang became a great avatar in just a few months during the war.
Even you?
yes, in Rebels Trial of the Darksaber, Kanan says essentially the same thing about Sabine to Hera.
The Force resides in all living things, but you have to be open to it. Sabine is blocked. Her mind is conflicted. She's so expressive and yet so tightly wound. She's so
Mandalorian.
Which is a much nicer way of putting it than what Huyang has been dropping this episode. He's
been
Huyang continues to talk shit.
so brutal.
Order would not have accepted her. She is not an acceptable candidate.
I love that Dr. Huyang here. It's just the perfect actor to play this role and deliver these lines, man. David Tennant sells condescension so well. Oh my lord. But yeah, I think that's also one of the reasons too that age plays a huge factor, because it's really hard for an adult to change their way of thinking than it is for a child. So she's got the Mandalorian thing riding on her. She's got her age riding on her. So like she's just got a lot of walls she's got to bring down that she's forged after all these years in wartime and being raised the way she was and all this stuff. So I think her artist's gift should give her a little bit of a leverage to kind of maybe find a way through it, but we'll see.
By their standards.
Standards which were proven over a millennia.
And failed.
Ooh, shots fired from Ahsoka. Ahsoka is expressing her parting ways with the Jedi Order during Clone Wars Season 5, and yes, the Jedi Order's obvious failure when Anakin betrayed them and led the Purge. Ahsoka may also be stung all the way back from the Clone Wars movie when Anakin told her when they first met,
You never would have made it as Obi-Wan's Padawan, but you might make it as mine.
Huyang says,
You realize, historically, there have been very few Mandalorians who ever became a Jedi.
well, one who did was named Tar Vizsla, the first wielder of the Darksaber, and since Sabine hails from House Vizsla, technically she is his descendant. Like maybe she's like 1/64th Tar. Huyang also says,
Well, I suppose you do come from a long line of non-traditional Jedi.
yeah, he's referring to the chain of masters that
Yeah,
Ahsoka
dude.
comes from. Her master was Anakin, his master was Obi-Wan Kenobi, his master was Qui-Gon Jinn, his master was Dooku, and his master was Yoda. So all of them exceptions to the norm.
Yeah.
Sabine does that thing that we have all tried to do before when you're eating breakfast alone and you
Let's
try
be
to
real.
summon a cup
Yeah.
across the table. And I love how she initially squints with one eye, aiming like a blaster. Her background, of course, is in weaponry, but she exhales and she refocuses, keeping both eyes open to the living force. We learn all the comms and the Denom system are being jammed, cutting off Hera's bad news, and Huyang drops him out of hyperspace far from Cetos following standard Jedi mission protocol, which was referenced back in Ahsoka Episode 1. Huyang says,
The transport was in orbit on the far side of the planet. However, there also seems to be a second object, something much larger.
yeah, we get an ominous look at the planet of Cetos, and we can't help but recall
Yeah,
the Falcon
dude.
crew arriving
Yeah,
to the
dude.
Alderaan debris field and seeing a moon that ended up being the Death Star.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
6
It's immediately
pilots led by Shin and Moroch
what my
pursue
mind
them
went
in
to.
These awesome-looking fighters with weathered red and yellow paint.
They
and
look
a
like
buzzing
WW2
World War II style design. Based on
Yeah.
how beat up they look, I'm gonna assume that these ships come from the Clone Wars era. Maybe modified Belulab 22s, originally from the Republic Commando game, and later came back in Revenge of the Sith and Clone Wars as separatist fighters. The hole on the nose, though, reminds me of the MiG-15, which
Yeah.
is a Soviet-designed fighter jet used in the Korean War. It's also kind of reminiscent reminiscent of the P-47 Mustang with the rounded cowlings and the nose of the F2F Brewster Buffalo.
There's a
Just as
lot.
old and scrappy,
There's a
it
lot
sounds
of
awesome,
different
rapid rate of
models
blast
kind of
fire,
crammed together
sick,
to
a
make
lot of
these
fun watching
things.
these, even if Ahsoka's T6 should have been obliterated.
And as far as their
Just the
inspiration
dogfighting
goes.
here is great because George Lucas originally based his aerial combat imagery for the first Star Wars film on actual World
God.
War II air battle footage.
I like
So it's
spittle.
always been
Got
part of the
spittle all over
franchise's
myself.
DNA. Sabine complains.
I see you got rid of my presets. I never needed them.
Yeah, Ahsoka claims to not need computers to aim because she can use the Force. Kind of sounds like these two gotten a lot of shit in their time after the Rebels finale.
Yeah, but like if you come back, you know, you leave your Xbox at home and your little brother goes in and just starts messing with everything. All your control schemes are now just wiped out and you're just like, oh God, now I gotta set this back up. Damn it.
We need some flashbacks to that. So after Ahsoka tried to train Sabine to learn to anticipate, and before rejecting urgency as a way to improve one's skills, now Ahsoka gives in, and she adapts.
Sabine, tell me what you need.
This teamwork between the pilot and the gunner is just what makes this all so fun. Hera and Chopper did it in that cool move in episode 2, Rey and Finn did it with the Falcon in The Force Awakens, and hey, we do it every time we ride Smuggler's Run. Hey, you can keep pilot and gunner. I like the engineer. I like pushing the buttons when they light up. Ahsoka uses the unique function of the T6, its rotating wings, to surprise the two pilots with a game of chicken, going vertical at the last second, catching them off guard so Sabine can take one of them out and give herself some confidence. Her exaltation may remind you of Luke's "I got one" from A New Hope. I got him! Great kid, don't get cocky. But whereas Han Solo responded to him with nice work, kid, but don't get cocky, Ahsoka just gives Sabine a very wholesome,
encouragement.
Good work, and forgives her when she misses one. Now, from the Eye of Sion, Morgan Elsbeth fires turbo lasers. Huyang says,
See if you can get a little closer.
Are you crosswired?
Closer, please.
Just me, but David Tennant's tone here as Huyang totally reminds me of Hannibal Lecter's line to Clarice in Silence of the Lambs.
Closer, please. Closer.
Like Sabine pushing it with that explosive HK droid head in episode 2, Huyang pushes it here.
Just a moment. Scan complete.
Now Shin radios to Morgan.
Congratulations.
You almost got them.
I have eyes on them.
Like the high-res Dark Sister holo projections on the Eye of Sion at the end of episode 2, now even the audio communication has a smoother fidelity. Like the hardware Morgan is using on the ship might have been designs transmitted to her from Thrawn's new galaxy or his old galaxy. I'm reminded of the alien technology transmitted to Earth in the movie Contact, which were blueprints for creating a ring-based transportation device to take us through a wormhole.
Never seen
back to
Contact.
them. The tech that Thrawn and his forces use could be based on some long-forgotten but superior technology of the Rakatan builders or the celestial gods of Mortis or whoever it's gonna end up being. Also, I gotta point this out, the shots of Shin Hati in her cockpit, she wears the comms headpiece so that the band goes under her bangs because she will not mess up her due for this. And yes, it's the same kind of headset that Anakin wears in the Battle of Coruscant during this fun moment.
Yep.
This is where the fun begins.
Meanwhile, the headset that Sabine wears looks like the wiry one that Han Solo wears when he was in the Falcon gunner seat in A New Hope. Now, craziest moment of this episode, Ahsoka suits up in this fly spacesuit with custom designed headgear that perfectly fits her Laku. And yes, I do not understand the gravity of her walking out on the wing like that, or when she leaps, why the jump would form an arc and not kick her out directly off into space according to Newton's third law. But you know what? There is no Newton in Star Wars, folks. There shouldn't even be sound in space.
That's my excuse. Force.
The laws of physics, but there might be like magnetic clips in her boots. Now on her second flip jump, Ahsoka uses her lightsaber to sever the fighter's wing, reminding us of Rey's big flip move in The Rise of Skywalker on Pisano when
So at that time, she wasn't able to, she put too much force into it. She actually needed help getting back to the ship. So there is that little detail. So maybe if there are magnets in those boots, they're not very strong, or, you know, maybe she was using the force for a moment to adhere for that moment. I don't know.
she used her lightsaber to wreck Kylo
I don't
Ren's
care.
TIE Interceptor. Now this just causes Ahsoka to float loose, but if you look closely, some sparks fly off her back tech. So this may have been some kind of jetpack thruster, maybe a localized gravity regulator.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm doing my best here, folks. Sabine ends up using the same rotating wing.
Well, if it's anything, maybe like a compartmentalized version of like our suits or whatever that had the big packs on it, they have like little thrusters to kind of navigate you a little bit. So maybe that was what that was doing. Maybe she had it in a downward trajectory and that's how she was like jettisoning herself across, but after that little sweep and the explosion, maybe it got damaged.
Mechanism that Ahsoka used before, now to rake Ahsoka back into the hatch. Now again, Baylan saw some Purgle in the cloudy skies over Cetos last episode, and now Sabine and Ahsoka see him up close.
Dude, they look so good. Oh God, Jinx.
Describe this sound as melodic rumbling. It is a huge deal for Sabine to see these. The Purgle were, of course, the hyperspace whales that Ezra summoned in the final episode of Rebels to defeat Thrawn, fulfilling Bendu's prophecy to Thrawn in the season 3 finale that Thrawn would be defeated with many arms surrounding him in a cold embrace. And those whales zipped both of them off into hyperspace. The Purgle were first introduced in Rebels season 2 episode 15, The Call, when the Ghost crew came across an asteroid gas refinery where Purgle feed on that gas to survive. Ezra made a connection with the Alpha Purgle by looking into its eye, forming this lifelong connection that he would call upon in his hour of need in the series finale. I wonder if the clouds of Cetos might be composed of a similar gaseous substance as what was in that planetoid structure in the Call episode. Now, in the Rebels finale episode,
because that was refined into fuel for hyperspace travel, right? If I remember right, but they don't need their bodies naturally refine it, and that's kind of what they kind of consume.
And we see in this series, Sabine has actually added a Purgle to the pauldron of her armor, so she has been dreaming of this moment. Purgle do actually show up in the constellations of the closing credits, along with a single
and in the star map
by the planet Lothal. I actually translated every single rune, planet, and hidden clue on that star map in another video. Definitely watch it. It's extremely important to know what the series is really doing. And with Dave Filoni so obsessed with wolf imagery, the character name of Moroch is based on the Arthurian legend, a character associated with wolves. Filoni's X-Wing pilot character is named Trapper Wolf. Everything about the Loth wolves that you can learn by watching that Rebels 4 recap video. It's just worth reminding everyone that wolves and whales share a common evolutionary ancestry, as the reason whales are mammals and not fish is that they had a common mammalian ancestor that lived close to water and eventually evolved into a whale. Now, while in the Rebels finale there was a mix of big Purgle and smaller ones, here there only seem to be big ones. Have they grown? Sabine pilots right by the big Purgle's eye. So it is also important in this moment that Sabine is piloting, not Ahsoka. It's Sabine's time to fly.
Haven't seen those creatures since the day Ezra disappeared.
And I wonder if, when this huge Purgle looks into this cockpit, it might zero in on the friend who desperately misses the boy that they flew off with. The Purgle actually helps them during this chase. Its undulating tentacles fold down behind the T6, closing it off from view from Shin. And when Sabine finds an opening, it might have been one intentionally created by the Purgle moving its tentacles out of the way. They end up parking the T6 in this grove of red trees.
I like that. Maybe a little stretchy, but you never know. They are highly intelligent.
Wood trees and A Song of Ice and Fire. Just a lot of interesting stuff going on here visually. Actually, its name, Cetos, like Arcana, clearly referencing the word arcane. Cetos must mean something, as either the seat of power, or maybe these ruins are kind of tossing themselves into the sea. While these Stonehenge-inspired ruins are positioned by the sea, it's just interesting to me that the true open gulf that this point jumps out into.
Well, this place is also a port, the destination to find the waypoint where you need to go. So this could be sea toss, as in a port, as in you toss yourself into the sea to depart onto your voyage. I don't know.
Is up into the clouds with the whales, and beyond that, into the stars. Huyang identifies the Eye of Sion as a hyperspace ring.
I do want to come back to that, the Eye of Sion. There are a lot of ways you can read into the word Sion, but the combination of words, the Eye of Sion, again, it's spelled the same way, and I know it's got its own meaning, but the Eye of Sion is spelled the exact same way as Darth Sion, who was one of his most distinctive characteristics was his glossy white eye. He had one eye that was normal, one eye that was just cataract over, and I just thought that was a nice little detail. I think that might be a little nod to that. That's where I sit. But there's a lot of other ways you can go into that. I've seen some people try discount that little connection, but I just feel like why, other than it being round, why would we call it the Eye of Sion? I don't know. That's just why I'm.
Smaller
Anyway.
versions of these were used by Jedi starfighters like the one Obi-Wan piloted in Attack of the Clones to dock up with and then let the ring carry the hyperdrive. This one has 7 engines so that it can jump galaxies. I like how the final shot of Sabine and Ahsoka frames them on either side of this ring, both of them equally propulsive to move this union forward. But Huyang has an interesting line here.
The Jedi archives speak of intergalactic hyperspace lanes between galaxies, which used to follow the migration paths of star whales named Purgle.
Jedi archives. The Jedi.
I do want to call out, in Doctor Who, there are star whales. They were used to pilot cities in one episode at least. So I want to believe that was a reference to that from Doctor Who himself.
They knew about other galaxies, and they knew about the Purgle as the link to them. In Rebels Season 4...
Well, we knew they knew about them. Like, the Rishi Maze is another galaxy that orbits them. It's like a small dwarf galaxy or whatever. And there's a few others that I don't know if they all have names. I know in Legends they kind of have. In the Legends stories, you know, we've seen people traverse outside of this galaxy, but not in canon, like, at all yet. Like, they've been mentioned, specifically just the Rishi Maze, as far as I know, is the only one that's been mentioned, but this one is much farther than that from what I've been able to discern so far.
For episode 12, we meet a character named Minister Haydn outside the Lothal Jedi Temple, right before the World Between Worlds episode, and he discusses Jedi lore with the Emperor.
The symbols and iconography are reminiscent of a report I discovered in the Jedi archives.
The Mortis Gods.
The Mortis Gods in Jedi archives. So if these Mortis Gods are Star Wars Celestials, if they come from another galaxy, and if the Jedi archives knew about that, this could all be connected through the Mortis Gods and the World Between Worlds, a dimension that transcends time. Look, folks, most of the trailer footage has been seen now. All that's really left that we have not seen in an episode are the duel between Ahsoka and Baylan in this star map ruins on Cetos, and a duel between Shin and Sabine in the nearby trees. That's probably coming next episode, since this episode ends with Baylan sending his forces into that forest. Trailers have also given us 2 shots of Thrawn, one from behind, one from in front. So think about that. Episodes 5 through 8 could look like anything. Yeah. Directing episode 5. So I think after Ahsoka and Baylan's duel next episode, the wolves are gonna howl. The best way to support this channel is by grabbing an Ahsoka inspired Fulcrum shirt available at Nerdride.
Oh, dude, that Vader one looks wicked. All right, guys, there you have it. That was a solid breakdown. Solid. I just really adored this episode. Like, I really didn't have any faults with it whatsoever. I know a lot of people didn't like how short it was, but again, I'm just so excited. I'm excited about all the stuff that they're kind of sprinkling into this, the lore, the expansion of it, the actual like expansion in the galaxy itself and of our understanding of the Force. Well, for some it's an expansion. For a lot, like myself and a few others, you know, it's just kind of how the Force has always worked. It's just, I don't think modern Star Wars has been great about exploring some of those elements. It's been all theory for the most part, but never really put into practice. So I'm enjoying that element of it. But yeah, man, what'd you guys think? Or is there anything that he missed here that maybe you guys caught? Sound off the comments. Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll carry on the conversation after the video. Hope you enjoyed the reaction. If you did, leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe if you're not already, and make sure to check out new Rockstars. But before we go, I want to shout out our channel legends. Manny Sherritt, Ryan, Karen, York, Corey, Scott, Margaret, Grace, Melito, Robert Anguiano, Jeffrey, Hale, M. Sephiroth, Jake and Trell, and Eric Official. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. But that's it for this video, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one. But until then, may the Force be with you always. Take care, everybody.